I was standing next to my husband's coffin when my daughter-in-law Carmen approached from behind and squeezed my arm so hard that I felt her nails piercing my skin through my black dress. She was 42 years old, straight, dark hair tied into a perfect bun, makeup impeccable even in that moment of supposed mourning. And when she leaned into my ear, the expensive perfume she wore sickened me before I even heard the words that came out of her mouth. "You know, Rosa, you belonged in that coffin with him. It would save us work." Her voice was low, but each syllable was pronounced slowly, with a cruel clarity that made me feel as if I had been slapped in the face right there, in front of everyone present at the wake. "My name is Rosa Martinez. I'm 67 years old, and I live in San Antonio, Texas." And at that exact moment, standing in the Santos funeral home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a sweltering Friday in August, with the temperature of 36 degrees outside and the air conditioning fighting the heat and the heavy smell of the white flowers that covered my Javier's coffin, I felt my entire body shake. I couldn't turn to look at her. My eyes were fixed on my husband's face, so still, so different from the man who laughed loudly and called me mi amor every morning for 43 years of marriage. Carmen didn't move away. She stood there, warm breath on my neck, and then placed something in my hands. A paper folded into 4 parts, thick, official. "Read it later," she whispered. And this time there was a smile in her voice, a smile I could feel without even seeing it. "You'll understand exactly where you belong now." She walked away and went to my son Daniel, put her hand on his shoulder with the expression of a devoted wife, and he didn't even look at me. My fingers closed around the paper, and I began unfolding it right there, hands shaking so much I almost dropped it. It was a legal document. Header from a law firm, dated 2 weeks ago, while Javier was still in the hospital dying of pancreatic cancer, and I was sleeping in a chair next to his hospital bed. The document's title read, "Petition for Interdiction for Mental and Senile Incapacity, Rosa Elena Martinez." My vision became blurred. I read the first line. "The applicant Carmen Patricia Ruiz, wife of the interdictee's son, requests the complete interdiction of Mrs. Rosa Elena Martinez, born on March 15, 1958, for showing clear signs of senile dementia, inability to manage her own assets, and erratic behavior that puts herself and the family's assets at risk." My legs wobbled. I held on to the edge of my husband's coffin to keep from falling. I continued reading. Each word was a stab. "The interdicted person has demonstrated serious forgetfulness, confusion about dates and events, inability to manage household finances, and needs an immediate legal guardian. We request that the son, Daniel Jose Martinez, be appointed legal guardian with complete powers over all the interdicted person's assets and decisions." There were attachments mentioned, witness statements, medical reports, proof of inappropriate behavior. None of that was true. Nothing. I had never been to any doctor who said I had dementia. I managed my own house, paid my bills, drove my car, and even worked part-time as a seamstress until 3 months ago when Javier got worse and I dropped everything to take care of him. But there it was, on letterhead, with date and court protocol, a formal attempt to declare me crazy, incapable, to take away my rights, my money, my home, my dignity. And the date of the protocol was exactly 2 days after Javier had fallen into a coma, when he could no longer defend me, when I was destroyed with exhaustion and despair in the hospital. They waited until he was unconscious to do this. I looked up from the paper and looked for Carmen in the room. She was on the other side, talking to my daughter Sophia, 39 years old, and they both looked at me at the same time. Carmen smiled. It wasn't a small or discreet smile. It was a wide, triumphant smile, like someone who had just won a game. Sophia looked away too quickly, as if she was ashamed but not enough to do anything about it. My stomach turned and I tasted bile in my throat. Before continuing, if you have already experienced family betrayal, leave a like and subscribe to the channel because this story goes far and revenge will be proportional to the pain. Comment which city you're watching from, because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I looked back down at the paper, forcing my eyes to read every line, every carefully constructed lie. There was a description of events that supposedly proved my incapacity. On the 23rd of June, the interdict left the house wearing a shirt, there and was found confused 3 blocks away. Absolute lie. On the 23rd of June, I was in the hospital with Javier the whole day. I didn't even go home. I had entry and exit records, I had witnesses, I had parking receipts with time. On the 5th of July, the interdict left the stove on causing a fire. Another lie. On the 5th of July, I was in the hospital again. Javier had had surgery that day, and I spent the night there. Our house was empty. A interdictanda has been making irrational and excessive expenses, buying unnecessary items, and giving money to strangers. My expenses were for medicines that the health plan did not cover. They were for geriatric diapers for Javier. They were for supplements that the oncologist recommended. I had each invoice saved. I turned the page. There was a list of assets that would be under Daniel's guardianship if the interdiction was approved. The house where we lived, valued at $340,000, paid off in my name. Javier and I's joint savings account, with $182,000 saved over 40 years of hard work. The car, a sedan we bought 3 years ago, $28,000. Shares that Javier had in the company he worked for 30 years, worth approximately $95,000. But just below there was a line that said, co-applicants, and the names were typed. Daniel Jose Martinez, my son. Sofia Elena Martinez, my daughter. Roberto Carlos Martinez, my 3 children who I paid for, sacrificing not buying new clothes for myself for 15 years in a row. I helped with money when they got married, when they had children, when they needed it. The 3 of them were in this together. They wanted to hospitalize me, declare me crazy, take away everything. And they were doing this while their father, the man who loved and protected me and respected me every day of our life together, was not even cold inside the coffin yet. I started to sweat cold under the long-sleeved black dress that I had chosen because it was Javier's favorite. He always said I looked elegant in that dress. The voices around me started to become distant, muffled, as if I were underwater. It's white. I couldn't respond. I showed her the paper with a shaking hand. She took it, started reading, and I saw her face change from concern to shock, then to anger that left her nostrils flaring. "What the hell is that?" she hissed quietly, so as not to make a scene at the wake. "They did that? When?" 2 weeks ago, I managed to whisper. While Javier was dying, Laura clutched the paper in her hand so hard that it crumpled the edges. She looked across the room to where my children were, the 3 of them together now, talking to each other, not looking at me. "These bastards," Laura said, and they weren't words she usually used, which made it all more real, more serious. "Rosa, you need a lawyer. Now. Today. Today is my husband's wake," I said, and my voice was broken. "How am I going to—" "That's precisely why," Laura interrupted. "They chose the worst time in your life to do this, thinking you would be too weak to react. You're not going to give them that taste." She was right, but I couldn't think straight. All I could feel was a pain so deep it was physical, as if someone had opened my chest and ripped out my heart with their hands. I looked at Javier's coffin. He was in a gray suit, the same one he wore to Sofia's wedding. Peaceful face, finally free of pain after 8 months of horrible suffering with the cancer eating him from the inside. I had held his hand when he took his last breath 3 days ago at 6:40 and 2 minutes in the morning. His last words had been, "Take care of our family, mi amor." He didn't know that the family was already destroyed, that the children we raised together were planning to treat me like a disposable nuisance. "You were a wonderful wife," and I thanked her automatically, without really listening, without really being present. My children were on the other side of the room the whole time. None of the 3 of them came to talk to me. None. At their own father's wake, they kept their distance from their mother, as if I were contagious. Carmen was glued to Daniel, playing the role of the perfect wife, greeting people, arranging the flower wreaths, accepting condolences as if she were the widow. At one point, I saw her laughing softly at something someone said, laughing at the wake. When it was over, it was already 8 in the evening. The coffin would be closed and taken straight to the funeral the next morning. Before leaving the room, my 3 children approached the coffin and stood there for a minute. Then he turned and walked right past me. Without looking, Carmen clung to his arm. Sofia, with red but dry eyes, touched the glass that covered her father's body and whispered something that I didn't hear. When she passed me, our eyes met for a second, but she didn't stop. She didn't say anything. Roberto, the youngest, 40 years old, was always the most explosive, the most impulsive. He looked at his father for just a few seconds, then turned and walked towards me too quickly. I thought he was going to talk to me, but he passed so close that I felt the displacement of air. Without saying a word, my jaw clenched, my eyes fixed on the exit door. I stood there alone, except for Laura, who had been by my side the whole time, and for some distant cousins who were still leaving. When the room was almost completely empty, I approached the coffin for the last time that night, just for him. Our children betrayed me, love. What do I do? There was obviously no answer. Just the heavy silence of the wake room and the low hum of the air conditioning. Laura took me to her house that night. I couldn't go back to my own house. Not alone. Not after that. In the car, on the way, she drove in silence while I looked out the window and didn't really see anything. When we arrived, it was past 9:30 at night. She took me straight to the guest room, helped me out of my black dress, gave me a clean nightgown, made me have some tea. Lukewarm chamomile that I drank without tasting it. He laid me down on the bed as if I were a child and said, "You go to sleep now, we'll decide tomorrow." But I didn't sleep. I saw my children's signature on that document shaking at 3 in the morning. I got up, picked up my bag where I had kept the damn document, and read it all again, this time slowly, writing down every lie, every date, every accusation. They had constructed a complete narrative of a senile, incapable woman, dangerous to herself. They had falsified events, distorted real situations, invented others. Vida. Nunca tinha ido em consulta com ele, mas ali estava, em papel oficial, suposto laudo médico anexo que eu ainda não tinha visto, mas que o documento mencionava como prova principal. Peguei meu celular, pesquisei o nome do médico. Ele existia. Tinha consultório em San Antônio mesmo, especializado em geriatria. Liguei para o número que apareceu, mesmo sendo 3:15 da madrugada. Claro que caiu na secretária eletrônica. Desliguei sem deixar recado. Pensei em ligar para o Daniel, para a Sofia, for Roberto, demanding an explanation, screaming, begging. But something stopped me. Maybe the last bit of self-love. Maybe the intuition that showing weakness now would be the end. So I sat there in a room that wasn't mine, in my sister's house, in the early hours of the morning before my husband's funeral, planning. I was born in Monterrey, Mexico, in 1958. My mother, Guadalupe, was a washerwoman, and my father, Francisco, was a bricklayer. We were 5 brothers. I was the oldest. I grew up helping to take care of the little ones, cooking since I was 8, washing clothes in the sink when I was 10. I didn't have a childhood of dolls and playing daras. I had a childhood of responsibility and work. When I was 14, I started sewing abroad, making hems and repairs that my mother brought back from clients. At 16, I was making complete dresses. The house where we lived had 3 rooms for 7 people. Cement floor, no heating in the winter, an old fan for 7 in the Monterey summer that reached 42 degrees. But my mother kept everything clean. My father never missed a day of work in his life, and we all learned that dignity is priceless and that hard work never kills anyone. I met Javier at a cousin's 15th birthday party. I was 18 and he was 21. He had crossed the border into the United States 6 months earlier, was working construction in San Antonio, had come to visit family in Monterrey. He was handsome in a simple way, not very tall, but he had the broad shoulders of someone carrying weight, large, calloused hands, and when he smiled, he had a dimple on his left side that made me like him before we even spoke. We danced that night. He stepped on me 3 times because he didn't know how to dance properly, and we laughed a lot about it. Before returning to the United States, he asked for my address. For 8 months, he sent letters. Every week a letter arrived, written in crooked handwriting, but with beautiful words, telling me about his work, about San Antonio, about how he was saving money to one day have his own house, about how he couldn't stop thinking about me. In the 9th letter, he asked if I would agree to marry him. He said he didn't have much to offer yet, but that he would work the rest of his life to make me happy. My mother was scared to see me go so far away. My father sat me down and said, "He's a good man. He works, he doesn't drink, he respects you. Do you want to go?" I wanted. I got married 3 months later in a small ceremony at the neighborhood church, wearing a dress that I made myself in 2 weeks working late at night. I crossed the border on a tourist visa and stayed. I arranged papers later. Javier had rented a small 1-bedroom apartment in a cheap part of San Antonio. The building was old. There were cockroaches. The neighborhood wasn't safe, but it was ours. He worked from Monday to Saturday, sometimes even Sunday if he had extra work. He left at 5 in the morning, returned at 7 at night, tired to the bone. But he always came home calling me, "Mi amor, I'm here." I started sewing it out again. First simple repairs, then party dresses, then brides. I worked at the kitchen table using an old sewing machine that we bought used. He earned a reasonable amount. I saved every penny with what Javier brought. In 2 years, we had saved $18,000. We put a down payment on a small house in a better neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, tiny backyard, but it was ours. I was 23, Javier 26. The day we got the key, we both sat on the floor of the empty room and cried with happiness. Daniel was born a year later. Difficult birth, 36 hours of labor. He was turned wrong. They thought they would have to do a cesarean section, but in the end, he was born normal. 8 kilos and 200 grams, healthy, screaming loudly. Javier cried when he picked him up. He said, "This boy is going to have everything I didn't have, Rosa. He's going to study. He's going to be someone in life." 2 years later, Sophia came. Easier birth, just 6 hours. Beautiful girl, black hair and huge eyes. 3 years later, Roberto, the last one. We decided to stop at 3 because money was tight and we wanted to provide a good education for each one. I raised my children while working. I sewed in the early hours of the morning when they were sleeping and in the afternoon when they were at school. He made up to $500 a week in some good times. Javier worked his way up in the construction company. He went from assistant to bricklayer, from bricklayer to foreman, from master to supervisor. He started to earn better. At 38, he was earning $4,000 a month. We continued to live simply. The house was paid off in full when Javier was 42. 18 years of installments, but we finished. We put money into savings, opened a small investment account. We sent money to my mother and Javier's mother in Mexico every month, $200 each. For 20 years we did that, until they both passed away. We have paid for private school for our 3 children since primary school. It wasn't an expensive school, but it was better than a public one. $1,200 a month for 12 years for the 3 of them. When Daniel wanted to go to college, we paid for the full 4 years. Public university, but still, $56,000 in total. He graduated with a degree in business administration. He met Carmen in his last year of college. She was in the same class. They got married as soon as they graduated. We gave $10,000 as a wedding gift. Sophia went to nursing school. We also paid $42,000 in total. She married a computer technician, a good guy at the time. We gave her $8,000 as a gift. Roberto didn't want to go to college. He wanted to open a mechanic shop. We loaned him $35,000 to start the business. He promised to pay it back in 3 years. Never paid a cent. Every time I mentioned it, he got irritated, saying that parents help their children without expecting anything in return, that I was self-interested because I demanded it. I stopped charging. Javier told me, "Leave it, Rosa. He's our son. It doesn't matter." All these years, I worked. I didn't stop for even a year. 50 years I spent sewing. Calloused fingers, chronic back pain from bending over the machine. My eyes became weaker, and I needed increasingly stronger glasses. But I never complained, because I was building something. One life, a family, security. When Javier turned 63, the company offered him early retirement through restructuring. He accepted. Pension of $2,800 a month, plus life insurance of $250,000 if he died. I still sewed, earning about $1,000 to $1,500 a month, depending on demand. We had a paid-off house, paid-off car, savings of $180,000, investments in stocks worth about $95,000. We were comfortable, not rich, but comfortable. We planned to travel, see Mexico again calmly, maybe get to know Europe that we had never seen before. Javier had a list of places he wanted to take me. "I promised you a good life, mi amor. Now let's enjoy it." 6 months after his retirement, the pain in his stomach started. He ignored it for weeks. He said it was gastritis, that it would go away. When he finally agreed to go to the doctor, he was already jaundiced, had yellow skin and yellowed eyes. They did exams, ultrasound, tomography, resonance, biopsy, pancreatic cancer, stage 4. It already had metastasis in the liver. The oncologist was honest. There was no cure, just treatments to prolong it a little and reduce suffering. Expectation of 6 months to a year. My world ended that day. Javier took my hand in the doctor's room and said, "Don't cry now, mi amor. I still have time to tell you everything you mean to me." The next 8 months were hell. Chemotherapy that destroyed him from the inside. Lost 28 kilos. Lost his hair. He became too weak to walk without help. Pain that not even morphine could control properly. He had to wear a diaper for the last 2 months because he couldn't get to the bathroom. I took care of him alone. I bathed him, changed his diaper, fed him when he couldn't hold a fork. I slept in a chair next to his bed in the hospital during 2 hospitalizations that totaled 43 days. The children visited from time to time. Daniel went once a week, stayed for 20 minutes, always in a hurry, always with some commitment. Carmen rarely came along, and when she did, she stayed away from the bed, as if illness were contagious. Sophia went more, 2 or 3 times a week, but she was uncomfortable. She didn't know what to say. She used her cell phone while she was there. Roberto went 5 times in 8 months. 5, always with the excuse of work, of being busy, of not dealing well with the hospital. But when Javier died, the 3 of them showed up at the hospital in less than an hour, and Carmen arrived with Daniel. During Javier's last days, when he was already in a coma, I now realized that they were whispering to each other in the hallway. They stopped talking when I left the room. They exchanged glances. One time I caught Carmen going through Javier's bag, which was in the hospital closet. She said she was looking for his cell phone. At the time, I didn't think anything. Now I understand. They were already planning. I returned to thoughts about betrayal when the cell phone alarm that Laura had set for me rang at 6:30 in the morning. Burial day. I dressed in the same black dress as the wake. I hadn't brought any other clothes. Laura made coffee and toast, but I couldn't eat anything. I just swallowed a bitter coffee. She got dressed too and said, "I'll go with you and stay by your side the whole time. And after the funeral, we'll go straight to a lawyer I know." We arrived at the cemetery at 9:45 in the morning. The funeral was scheduled for 10 o'clock sharp. It was a large cemetery on the outskirts of San Antonio, with old trees and headstones that dated back over 100 years. The day was cloudy, but muggy, 29 degrees even, without direct sun. The coffin was already there, next to the open grave. Red earth piled on the side. Smell of wet earth from the rain that fell in the early morning. There were maybe 40 people. Javier's friends, old work colleagues, some neighbors, my sister Laura and her husband, 2 cousins, and my 3 children with their families. Daniel was with Carmen and their 2 children, a boy of 15 and a girl of 12. Sophia was with her husband and 6-year-old daughter. Roberto was alone, divorced for 3 years. I went straight to the coffin. Nobody spoke to me. The priest began the ceremony promptly at 10 o'clock. He spoke about Javier, about a life well lived, about being in the arms of the Lord now, about leaving a legacy of love. I barely heard. I kept looking at the coffin, knowing that in minutes it would be lowered into that hole and covered with earth, and I would never see Javier again. Not even like this, quiet and cold, but visible. When the priest finished, he asked the family to come closer for a final farewell. I was a meter away from the coffin. My children came, but they stayed on the other side, with the coffin between us, as a physical barrier. Each one placed a white flower on the coffin. I had a red rose, Javier's favorite flower. I placed it on the glass, where his chest was. "I love you forever," I whispered. Then they began to lower the coffin with ropes. I will never forget that sound, the creaking of the strings, the soft thud as it touched the bottom of the pit. I finally started crying, tears that hadn't come out yet because the shock had been too great. I cried, and my entire body shook. Laura grabbed my arm. The priest took dirt and threw it over the coffin, saying the final blessing. Then he offered the shovel to anyone who wanted to throw dirt too. Daniel was the first. He took it, threw a chopstick, handed it to Sophia. She played too, crying now. Roberto picked it up and threw it hard, dirt hitting the wood of the coffin. When they offered me the piece, my hands were shaking so much that I almost fell over. I threw the dirt and heard it hit my husband, and I felt like I was throwing dirt on my own life. The gravedigger began to work, filling the grave. Some people started to walk away. I stayed. I stayed until the grave was completely full, until they mounted the flowers on top of the mound of fresh earth, until they placed the temporary plaque with his name. Javier Roberto Martinez, born on the 12th of April, 1955, death on the 25th of August, 2023. When I finally turned to leave, it was already 12:15. The cemetery was almost empty. From afar, I saw my children getting into their cars and driving away. None came to say goodbye to me. No one asked if I was okay, if I needed anything, if I wanted to go to lunch together like families do after funerals. They simply left. Carmen looked back once before getting into Daniel's car, and he smiled again. That same cruel smile. Laura saw it too. "Damn," she said through gritted teeth. "Let's go, Rosa. Let's sort this out. In the car, on the way to the lawyer's office, Laura called to say we were on our way. The lawyer had been known to her for a long time. He had handled a family inheritance matter years ago. His name, Dr. Marcus Reyes, 60 years old, office in downtown San Antonio in an old but well-maintained building. We arrived there shortly after 1 in the afternoon. The secretary took us straight to his office. Dr. Marcus was a tall man with completely white hair, thin-rimmed glasses, and a well-pressed gray suit. He shook my hand firmly, offered me water, which I accepted because my mouth was dry, and waited for me to sit on the leather chair in front of his desk. "Ms. Martinez," he began, his voice deep and slow. "Laura told me briefly about your situation over the phone. I need you to tell me everything in detail and show me any documents you have." I counted. From the moment at the wake, what Carmen said, the document she gave me, every lie written there, the names of my children as co-applicants. I handed him the paper. He read slowly, very slowly, stopping several times, going back to reread passages. His face showed no emotion, but I saw his jaw tighten when he got to the part about the fake medical reports. When he finished reading, he put the document on the table, took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes, put the glasses back on, looked straight at me. "Ms. Martinez, this is fraud, serious fraud. If what you are telling me is true, and you never consulted this doctor, never exhibited these behaviors, this is ideological falsehood, use of a false document, defamation, and attempted property fraud. Your sons and daughter-in-law could face criminal charges. I just want them to stop," I said, voice still hoarse from crying in the cemetery. "I want my rights back. I want them to know they can't do this to me." "We're going to do a lot more than that," Dr. Marcus said. He opened a folder, took out a notepad, and started asking specific questions. How much money exactly did I have? Which accounts? In which banks? Whose name was the house in? Did you have a deed? The car? Javier's actions? In whose name were they now that he died? His life insurance? Who was it intended for? Did I have a will? Did Javier have it? Loans given to children? Did you have proof? Expensive gifts? There was an invoice? Our recibo? For 2 hours I answered everything I could remember. Dr. Marcus wrote everything down, asked for exact values, specific dates. We discovered together that I had a lot more documentation than I thought. During 43 years of marriage, I kept everything. I had a shoebox full of old receipts, bank statements from 10 years ago, invoices, contracts. "I need you to bring me all of this," he said. "Every piece of paper. I need you to authorize me to request your medical records from all the doctors you've seen in the last 10 years. We're going to prove that you don't have any diagnosis of dementia, that you don't have any record of erratic behavior. I'm also going to hire a private investigator to check the lady's whereabouts on the dates they claim she was confused on the street or causing a fire. If she was in the hospital with her husband, she has a record of that. How much will all this cost?" I asked, because even with money saved, I was a woman who counted every penny my entire life. "Don't worry about it now," he said. "We're going to do the following. I'm going to challenge the ban immediately, today. I'm going to allege everything you told me and request an independent medical expert to assess your mental capacity. I'm going to attach your medical records when I can. Then I'm going to file a lawsuit for moral damages against your children and your daughter-in-law for defamation, emotional distress, and attempted fraud. And I'm going to ask the courts to criminally investigate the false documents." I could only nod my head, trying to process it all. He continued, "About values. My fees for this type of case are $200 per hour, but we can negotiate payment according to the result. If we win compensation for moral damages, I receive a percentage. If we don't win, we reduce the value. The important thing now is to protect your assets and your dignity." We left his office at 3:30 in the afternoon with a plan in mind. Laura took me home for the first time since the wake. When we entered, the house was exactly as it had been 3 days ago, when I rushed to the hospital because Javier had taken a turn for the worse in the early hours of the morning. Cup of coffee still in the sink, bed unmade, Javier's clothes still on the hanger, his smell still in the air. I almost fell apart again, but Laura held me tight. "Not now, Rosa. Now you work. Get all the documents the lawyer asked for. Let's organize everything." We spent the rest of the afternoon and the entire night doing this. We searched every drawer, every box, every closet. We found the deed to the house in my name, purchased in 1983, paid off in 2001. We found bank statements showing savings of $182,040 in my and Javier's joint account. We found documents of his shares, which would pass to me as his wife. We found his life insurance policy, $250,000, beneficiary, me. We found receipts for wire transfers, $10,000 for Daniel in 2003, wedding gift, $8,000 for Sophia in 2005, wedding present, $35,000 for Roberto in 2009, loan for a workshop, $15,000 for Daniel in 2012, help with the down payment on the house, $12,000 for Sophia in 2015 to buy a car, $5,000 to Roberto in 2018 to pay his debt that was being collected in court. Adding up everything we gave or lent to the three of us over the years, including paid college fees, more than $200,000, $226,000 to be exact. We organize everything in separate labeled folders, copy everything, and store copies in different places. One folder remained with Laura, one with me, one digitized in the cloud. By the time we finished, it was already past midnight. I realized that I hadn't eaten anything all day except breakfast, which I hadn't even finished. Laura made sandwiches that we ate in silence in the kitchen. Then she left, and I was alone in my house for the first time since Javier died. First night in our bed without him. I lay down on the side I always slept on the left, and reached for the right side where he should have been. Cold and empty sheet. I cried until I had no more tears, until my throat hurt, until my eyes swelled. But this time, it wasn't just sadness. He was angry too. Clean, rising anger. Over the next few days, I began to notice signs that I should have seen earlier. During the final weeks of Javier's life, when he was very unwell, unconscious at times, awake and confused at others, there were strange moments that I didn't make sense of at the time. One afternoon, about 10 days before he passed away, Daniel showed up in the hospital room when I had gone out for a quick lunch at the cafe downstairs. When I returned, 25 minutes later, he was with some papers in his hand next to Javier's bed. He put it away too quickly when he saw me. It turned out they were documents from his work that he had brought to review while he was keeping his father company. At the time, I believed it. Now I think, was he trying to get Javier to sign something? Did you succeed? Another time, Carmen was in the hallway talking on the phone. I stopped near her because I was going to ask if she knew if Daniel was coming to visit that day. I heard her say, "It won't take much longer, then we'll sort it out." When he saw me, he quickly changed the subject, started talking about the weather, about it raining. Who did she talk to? What wasn't going to be long about? About Javier dying soon? A week before Javier passed away, Sophia came to visit and suddenly asked without context, "Mom, do you have power of attorney for your dad? Like, to sort out financial things if he can't?" I replied that we had reciprocal powers of attorney drawn up years ago when we bought the house, allowing one to take care of the other's affairs if necessary. She made a strange face, said, "Oh, okay," changed the subject. "Why did you ask that?" I was checking if I had access to Javier's assets or if they could block it in some way. 2 weeks before his death, when Javier was still at home but very weak, Roberto showed up without warning. A rare thing, he avoided visitors. He said he wanted to spend time with his father. He stayed for an hour. When he left, I noticed that the nightstand drawer next to Javier's bed was ajar. Javier always kept important documents there: birth certificate, voter registration card, social security card, that sort of thing. I opened it to check. Everything seemed to be there, but I wasn't sure if anything was missing. At the time, I thought I was being paranoid. After the funeral, I went to check again. One thing was missing: our original marriage certificate. Why would Roberto take this? What is a marriage certificate for if not to prove legal bond and right to inheritance? The months before Javier's illness also had signs, but they were so subtle that I completely misinterpreted them. Daniel had started calling more frequently, about 8 months before the diagnosis. I would call asking how we were, how the finances were, if we needed anything. I thought he was maturing, becoming a more attentive son. Now I see, I was doing surveys, quantifying what there was to catch. Sophia started making comments about me looking tired, forgetful. "Mom, you told me that yesterday." Or, "Mom, don't you remember we talked about this last week?" I was really tired. I worked a lot, so I thought maybe I was forgetting. Now I understand. I was planting the idea that I was becoming senile, preparing the ground for the interdiction document. Roberto started avoiding contact almost completely about 6 months before Javier got sick. He barely answered the phone, didn't visit, always busy. I thought I was in trouble and didn't want to worry. Now I see. I was distancing myself emotionally because I already knew what was coming. I didn't want attachment that would make the plan difficult. Carmen, this one was always more obvious in her dislike, but in the last few months it had become different. Not just cold, but dismissive. He treated me as if I were an employee, not a mother-in-law. I gave orders. Rosa, get more ice. Rosa, serve the coffee, when I was in my own house. Once, 3 months before Javier got sick, we were having a barbecue at their house. I heard her talking to a friend in the kitchen. They didn't know I was in the hallway. The friend asked something about her parents. Carmen replied, "Thank God my parents are independent and have their own lives. They are not a burden to anyone. I feel sorry for Daniel, who will have to put up with his parents becoming a burden sooner or later." Wait, she called me a burden. At the time I was upset, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to create conflict. I kept that. Another small wound in the collection. There was more. Christmas the previous year, 2022, we had at our house as always. I prepared food for 20 people, cleaned the house, decorated it, spent $800 on food and gifts. My 3 children went with their families. During supper, someone toasted Javier for his birthday, which had been the week before. Daniel raised his glass and said, "To my father, a hardworking and provider man." Then he added, looking at me, "It's a shame he can't work anymore because of his age, but at least he planned well." At the time, I thought it was strange, but I let it go. Javier was still working at the time. Retirement only came months later. Why did Daniel say that? Were you testing reaction? After supper, while I was washing dishes, I heard talking in the living room. Daniel, Sophia, and Roberto talking quietly. I managed to hear fragments. "When the time comes, it's better for everyone. You won't want to become a burden." I thought they were talking about work, retirement, their own life plans. I didn't realize that they could be talking about me and Javier. How do you misinterpret your own family? Yes? How do you assume that people you raised, who nursed at your breast, who you woke up at dawn hundreds of times when they were babies, who you taught to walk and talk, how do you assume that these people are conspiring against you? You don't assume. You always give the benefit of the doubt. You justify it. You normalize. "They're stressed," I said to myself. "These are their problems. Nothing to do with me." What an idiot I was. How blind I was. But it wasn't anymore. The next few days were mechanical. Sleep, wake up, take a shower, eat, because I had to, not because I felt hungry. The house is too quiet. Just me and the sound of the fridge turning on and off. I opened the door to the room that was Javier's office, where he kept old tools and papers. I sat in his old chair, smell of wood and machine oil. I found an envelope with old photographs at the bottom of a drawer. Our wedding party. I was thin and smiling in a simple white dress. He was wearing a borrowed suit that was too big on the shoulders. Photo of Daniel as a newborn in the hospital. Tiny. Javier holding him for fear of breaking. Sophia taking her first steps in the living room of the old house, our first house. I crouched down with open arms, waiting for her to walk towards me. Roberto on the first day of school, backpack bigger than him, toothless smile. How did we get here? At what point did these children that I loved more than my own life turn into adults who wanted to erase me? Javier would say something. He always said something right when I was lost. It was so absurdly missing. I sat there for hours just holding the photographs and trying to remember what it felt like to be happy. I wasn't able to. Happiness seemed like a concept from another life. 4 days after the funeral, Dr. Marcus called. "Ms. Martinez, I challenged the ban. I also requested your medical records, and I've already received a response from 3 of the 5 doctors you consulted in recent years. No record of dementia, no signs of cognitive incapacity. Your last general checkup was in March of this year, and everything is normal, including a basic cognitive test that they did because you were over 60 years old." The doctor noted, "Patient lucid, oriented, memory preserved." "What about Dr. Richard Allen?" I asked. "The one who supposedly diagnosed me." "I'm investigating. I called his office asking for a copy of your patient records. The secretary said she had no record of you. I asked them to check again. I insisted. She checked the system twice and confirmed you were never his patient. So either he falsified the report without ever seeing you, or someone falsified it in his name. Either way, it's a crime. What happens now?" "The interdiction hearing is scheduled for 3 weeks from today. You will have to appear. You will be evaluated by a judicial expert. probably a psychiatrist appointed by the judge. He will talk to you, do simple cognitive tests, assess whether there is any basis in the request. Based on the documents I have and your clearly sane condition, I am sure that the interdiction will be denied. But prepare yourself. Your children will be there. It will be a direct confrontation. 3 weeks, 21 days to prepare myself psychologically to see my children in a courtroom and hear them trying to declare me crazy. 21 days that dragged and flew at the same time. During this time, none of them called. None. Not to ask how I was, not to talk about Javier's inventory, not even to pretend to be civil. Total silence. Complete blocking. The second week, I went to the supermarket. In the dairy aisle, I bumped into Sophia. She was getting milk when she saw me. Our eyes met. She turned red, looked away quickly, dropped the milk haphazardly on the shelf, and walked away quickly, almost running. Not even a hello, not a wave, treated as if I were a ghost. In the third week, I went to the bank to resolve issues about a joint account that became mine alone with Javier's death. While waiting to be answered, I received a message on my cell phone. Unknown number. Give up on this. Accept what's best for you. Don't push things that you can't handle. It had no signature. I blocked the number. 10 minutes later, another number, another message. You're alone. There's no one on your side. Your own children know you're not okay. Stop it before you hurt yourself. I showed it to Dr. Marcus later. He said, intimidation. Keep everything. If they send more, don't respond. Just keep it as evidence. The day of the hearing arrived. Clear sky, 33-degree heat, September 23rd, 2023. I dressed in a navy blue trouser and blouse set, simple but formal. Laura went with me. We arrived at the courthouse at 8:40 in the morning, the hearing scheduled for 9:15. Cramped waiting room, weak air conditioning, uncomfortable plastic chairs. They were there. Daniel, Carmen, so trust, Roberto. On the other side of the room, talking quietly to their lawyer, a young man in a black suit and red tie. When we entered, the four of them looked. No expression of regret, no doubt. Carmen even smiled out of the corner of her mouth. Daniel looked tired but determined. Sophia couldn't look straight. Roberto had an angry look on his face, as if I were guilty of something when I defended myself. We sat far away. We don't talk. Heavy silence, broken only by low conversations from other people waiting for other audiences. At 9:15 sharp, they called our case. We entered a small room. A judge of about 50 years old behind a table, a recorder on, a scribe beside her. The judge asked everyone to sit down. On one side of the long table, Dr. Marcus and I. On the other side, my children, Carmen, and their lawyer. The judge began by reading the case briefly. Request for interdiction due to mental incapacity, defense presented, expert opinion required. Then he looked at me. Mrs. Martinez, do you understand why you are here today? Yes, Your Honor, I replied, voice firmer than I expected. My sons and daughter-in-law want to declare me incapable of taking control of my assets. And you contest this request? I completely dispute it. I don't have any mental problems. I never have. Everything in this process is a lie. The judge nodded. He called the psychiatric expert who was waiting outside, Dr. Alan Friedman, 68 years old, white hair, round glasses. He sat down and said he would need to talk to me privately. We went to the next room, just me, him, and Dr. Marcus. For 45 minutes he asked questions. My full name, date of birth, where I lived, how long ago, name of the current president, what day it was, what year, what month. He asked him to repeat 3 words after 5 minutes. He asked me to do simple math in my head. He was asked to draw a clock marking a specific time. He asked him to count backwards from 100 by 7. He asked about my routine, my hobbies, if I could take care of myself, if I took medication, which one, if I went to the doctor regularly, when was the last time. I answered everything calmly. I didn't make anything wrong. In the end, he wrote down a lot, closed the folder, and said, "Thank you, Mrs. Martinez." We returned to the hearing room. The expert delivered a preliminary report to the judge, who read it in silence. As she read, I looked at my children. Daniel looked at the table. Sophia had tears streaming down that she quickly wiped away. Roberto looked at me with something that looked like hatred. Carmen looked at her nails. The judge finished reading and looked at the plaintiff's lawyer. Dr. Oliveira, the expert report is categorical. Mrs. Martinez does not show any sign of dementia, cognitive incapacity, or any condition that would justify interdiction. She is lucid, oriented, and fully capable. Furthermore, I see here in the records that she presented 5 years of medical records showing the absence of a psychiatric or neurological diagnosis. And more seriously, the medical report presented by you is from a doctor who never treated the defendant as determined by the defense. Do you have anything to say about this? Their lawyer was embarrassed. Your Honor, my clients provided this document in good faith. Good faith? Dr. Marcus interrupted. Your Honor, this document is clearly false. We are requesting a criminal investigation for misrepresentation and use of a false document. The judge banged the gavel lightly. Interdiction process dismissed as unfounded. Ms. Rosa Martinez is fully capable and maintains all her civil rights. As for the accusations of forgery, I am ordering that a copy of this process be sent to the public prosecutor's office for the necessary measures. File them. End. I got up shakily. Laura hugged me. Dr. Marcus shook my hand. When I turned to leave, I passed by my children. Daniel tried to say something. Mom, wait. I'm not your mom anymore, I said, voice low but clear. You have lost that right, and leaves, without looking back. From that moment on, I began to act methodically. Dr. Marcus had guided me on the next steps, and I followed each one as if it were a recipe. First step, I went to the bank the day after the hearing and separated my finances completely. I removed Javier's name from the joint account since he had passed away. I transferred all the money from savings, $182,040, to a new account in a different bank just in my name. I opened a safe at the bank and kept the house's deeds, documents relating to Javier's shares that were now mine, his life insurance policy, family jewels, everything that had value. Second step, I changed the password for everything: banking, email, Netflix, everything. I changed the house lock. Company came on Tuesday morning, removed old locks, installed new ones. 3 copies of key, 1 for me, 1 for Laura, 1 saved in the safe. If any of my children had a copy of an old key, it was no longer useful. Third step, I installed security cameras, 2 in front of the house, 1 at the back door, 1 in the garage. System that recorded everything, and I could see it on my cell phone. If they showed up trying to get in or do something, there would be proof. Fourth step, I gathered all the proof of money that I gave or lent to my children over the years. I sat down with Dr. Marcus, and we created a detailed spreadsheet. $56,000 for Daniel's college tuition, plus $10,000 as a wedding gift, plus $15,000 in help with a down payment on the house, plus $3,000 in various gifts over the years. Total, $84,000. $42,000 for Sophia's college, plus $8,000 as a wedding gift, plus $12,000 for a car, plus $2,000 in miscellaneous gifts. Total, $64,000. $35,000 lent to Roberto for the workshop, another $5,000 to pay his debt, another $1,500 in various gifts. Total, $41,500. Added together, $189,500, almost $200,000. Dr. Marcus said, technically, gifts are not legally recoverable, but loans are, especially if they have a receipt and have never been repaid. Roberto's money is clearly a loan. You even have a paper signed by him saying he would pay it back in 3 years. It's been 14 years. With accumulated interest and monetary correction, that's approximately $83,000 today. I want every penny back, I said, and I wasn't kidding. Fifth step, Javier's life insurance. $250,000, beneficiary me. The insurance company had already approved payment, but it would take around 30 days to process. When I received it, I would invest intelligently. Dr. Marcus recommended me a financial consultant. Sixth step, Javier's actions. $95,000 in market value. As a wife, I automatically inherited. I transferred it to my investment account. I wasn't going to sell it yet. I was going to make money. Seventh step, inventory. Javier had left a simple will made 10 years ago, everything for me, and after my death divided equally between the 3 children. With him dead, the will established that I inherited 100%. Inventory was opened, standard legal process. The children were notified as future heirs, but at the moment they were not entitled to anything because I was alive and was the universal heir. Eighth step, I looked for more compromising documents. I went through old emails, I found a message from Daniel from 6 years ago. Mom, I need to borrow $15,000 for a down payment on the house. I'll pay it back in a year, I promise. Never paid. Print. I found a message from Roberto from 14 years ago. Mom, my dream is to have my own workshop. If you can lend me $35,000 to start, I'll pay it all off in 3 years. Never paid. Print. Ninth step. Dr. Marcus filed a collection action against Roberto for $83,000 relating to the unpaid loan plus interest. Bailiff delivered summons to his workshop. 15-day deadline to pay or dispute. 10th step. I filed a moral damages action against Daniel, Sophia, Roberto, and Carmen for defamation, emotional suffering, ideological falsehood in the interdiction process. I asked for compensation of $300,000. I based the value on precedents that Dr. Marcus researched for similar cases. They sent a citation to each one. Roberto called 3 days after receiving a summons for the charge. First time he spoke to me since before Javier died. Answered. Hello? Mom, what the hell is this? Lawsuit charging me $83,000? Have you lost your mind? I'm not crazy, Roberto. You borrowed $35,000 14 years ago and never paid it back. We signed papers. Remember? You promised 3 years. It's been more than a decade. That was family help. Father and mother help son. Father and mother help son who respects father and mother. Son who tries to admit mother to a mental institution and steal everything from her receives legal charges. You're the one making trouble. It was Carmen who, I don't care who started it. You signed the interdiction order. I saw your name there. You agreed that I was crazy. You wanted to take everything from me. Now pay what you owe or go to prison for an unpaid debt. I won't pay anything. You can't make me. The judge can. You have 15 days to pay or contest. If you don't do anything, I'll request seizure of your assets. Workshop, car, bank account, everything. Good luck. I hung up, handshaking but heart firm. Sophia texted 2 days later, Mom, can we talk? I need to explain. It wasn't my idea. Please. I didn't respond. Daniel showed up on the doorstep 4 days later, ringing on the door insistently. I was inside. I saw on the camera that it was him. I didn't open it. He stayed there for 20 minutes playing of the doorbell, knocking, calling, Mom, open up. I need to talk to you. I still didn't open it. He left a letter tucked under the door. I waited for him to leave, took the letter, opened it. His handwriting, Mom, I know you're mad. I know I hurt you, but you need to understand that it was all misunderstood. Carmen was worried about you after your father died and thought you needed help. It wasn't mean. I didn't want to hurt you. You're my mother. Please talk to me. We can resolve this as a family, without lawyers, without lawsuits. I love you, Daniel. I tore the letter into small pieces and threw it in the trash. Misunderstood. As if trying to declare me crazy and steal $500,000 was misunderstood. As if he was an idiot thinking I would believe that. Carmen was more aggressive. He sent a message. You're going to lose. You're alone and old. We're young and we have resources. Give up while there's still time. I forwarded the message to Dr. Marcus. He said, good. More proof of harassment. Keep everything she tells you. 2 weeks passed. Roberto didn't pay. He didn't contest within the deadline. Dr. Marcus requested attachment. Judge granted. They blocked his bank account. $112 he had there. Nothing. They scheduled an evaluation of the workshop for future seizure if payment was not made within 30 days. He called furiously. You blocked my account. How am I going to pay employees? How am I going to buy parts? Your problem. Pay what you owe. I don't have $83,000. Then sell the shop, or borrow it, or declare bankruptcy. I don't care. You chose to treat me like dirt. Now put up with it. I hung up again. The moral damages action was progressing. Conciliation hearing scheduled for 5 weeks after the ban was denied. Meanwhile, Dr. Marcus kept me informed of everything. He had hired a private investigator who discovered interesting things. Carmen and Daniel had debts, mortgage on their house, $412,000 owed, 2 cars financed, $58,000 combined, credit cards, $26,000 in debt. They lived beyond their means. The investigator also discovered that Carmen had tried to open a line of credit using property that was in my name as collateral 6 months ago. Bank denied it because it was not the owner. She had tried to forge my authorization. Bank didn't fall, but also didn't report it because there was no damage. Dr. Marcus said, this is yet another fraud attempt. I can include it in the action. It includes everything, I said. 2 months after Javier's death, I received a life insurance payout. $250,000 in the account. I consulted with an investor that Dr. Marcus recommended, a man called Thomas Park, 63 years old, small office but solid reputation. He suggested investing part of it in conservative fixed income funds that would pay around 4% per year, approximately $7,000 annually. Share in shares of companies established for long-term growth. Share in real estate through real estate funds. Diversify, protect. We invested $180,000 of the $250,000. I saved $70,000 in a highly liquid savings account for emergencies. With my other investments, savings, shares inherited from Javier, I had a net worth of approximately $620,000. Another house paid off worth $340,000. Total, almost $1 million. I had never thought of myself as rich. It wasn't, but it was comfortable. It was safe. It was independent. And my kids wouldn't see a dime. 3 months later, conciliation hearing for the moral damages claim. Again on the forum, face to face with them again. Same small room, same judge. She started by saying that she was there to try to reach an agreement, avoid a long process. He looked at the defendants, my children, and Carmen. Do you want to propose something? Their lawyer, Dr. Oliveira, said, Your Honor, our clients recognize that there was a regrettable misunderstanding. They are willing to formally apologize and end this matter without further conflict. Unfortunate misunderstanding? Dr. Marcus repeated dismissively. They tried to defraud the judicial system. They falsified medical reports. They publicly defamed my client. They caused immeasurable emotional suffering during her grief. And they call it a misunderstanding? The judge looked at me. Mrs. Martinez, do you accept the apology? No, I replied firmly. I want compensation. What amount would you accept? I looked at Dr. Marcus. We had already talked about this. $200,000, he said. $50,000 from each of the 4 defendants. Heavy silence. Daniel turned white. Sophia began to cry softly. Roberto snorted angrily. Carmen crossed her arms. Their lawyer asked to speak to his clients privately. They left. They were gone for 25 minutes. They came back. My clients are unable to pay this amount, Dr. Oliveira said. They proposed $20,000 in total, divided into 4 times $500. Refused, Dr. Marcus said before the judge even spoke. My client doesn't need an installment plan. You want justice proportionate to the damage. The judge tried to mediate. Ms. Martinez, Mr. Marcus, understand that a lengthy process can take years, and there is no guarantee that you will win such a high amount. A deal of $50,000 up front might be more advantageous, I thought. $50,000 was nothing compared to what they had tried to steal from me, but if it came quickly, at least it was something. $100,000, I said, in cash, divided between the 4 as they wish, or we go to trial. More private conversation between them. Another 20 minutes. They came back. $75,000, lawyer said, in 2 installments, half in 30 days, half in 60. I looked at Dr. Marcus. He nodded discreetly. I accept, I said. They made a written agreement right there. $75,000, $37,500 in 30 days, plus $37,500 in 60 days. If they didn't pay, automatic seizure of assets. Everyone signed. When it was over, I got up to leave. Daniel tried again. Mom, I turned and looked deep into his eyes, sign the check, and never speak to me again. I left. 30 days later, the exact due date, I received a bank transfer of $37,500. 60 days later, second installment, $75,000 in full. I later learned from a comment that Laura heard from a mutual acquaintance that Daniel and Carmen had to take out a loan from a bank using their house as collateral. Sophia sold her car. Roberto took out a loan from a loan shark charging high interest. I didn't feel sorry, not at all. The collection of the loan from Roberto was still separated. As he didn't pay the $83,000, his workshop was appraised and put up for auction. After paying legal fees and fees, I received $59,000. We discovered that she had tried to open a company in my name for 8 months. Atrás, usando meus dados sem autorização. Tentativa tinha sido negada, porque precisava de assinatura reconhecida em cartório, que ela não conseguiu falsificar. Mas a tentativa existiu. Tinha registro na junta comercial. Mais uma fraude tentada. Dr. Marcos disse que poderíamos entrar com ação criminal. Pensei bastante. Decidimos entrar com queixa-crime por tentativa de estelionato, falsidade ideológica e uso indevido de dados pessoais. Processo criminal foi aberto. Carmen foi indiciada. Ela contratou advogado criminalista, gastou mais dinheiro que não tinha. No final, fizeram acordo. Ela admitiu culpa em troca de pena alternativa e pagamento de multa de $10.000. Mais dinheiro deles indo embora. 6 meses depois da morte do Javier, fiz aniversário. 68 anos. Dia 2 de março. Acordei sozinha, silêncio na casa, nenhuma mensagem dos filhos. Laura ligou cantando parabéns. 2 amigas da igreja mandaram mensagem. Passei o dia quieta, olhando fotografias antigas, pensando na vida. À tarde, resolvi fazer algo diferente. Fui ao salão de beleza que nunca frequentava porque sempre achei caro demais. Gastei $250 em corte, coloração para cobrir cabelos brancos, manicure, pedicure. Quando saí, me senti um pouco melhor. Não feliz, mas menos apagada. Comprei roupa nova, vestido azul claro, algo que nunca usaria antes. Gastei $120. Jantei sozinha em restaurante italiano, pedi vinho, massa com frutos do mar, sobremesa. $200 com gorjeta. Extravagância total para mim, que sempre economizava cada centavo. Mas Javier sempre dizia, quando eu não estiver mais aqui, você spend our money on yourself, mi amor, promise? I was keeping my promise. I came home at 9 o'clock at night. I was tired, but it was a good day. First day in 6 months where I didn't cry. Small victory. 10 months after Javier's death, I sold the house. I couldn't stay there any longer. Every room had a memory of him. Room where he died little by little. Living room where we watched television hugging each other. Kitchen where he drank coffee every morning and said it was the best coffee in the world, even though it was cheap supermarket coffee. Backyard where he planted it, roseiras que ainda floresciam. Vende por $360.000. 20 mil a mais que valor de mercado, porque compradores queriam muito. Lucro de 20 mil depois de pagar taxas. Comprei apartamento menor em prédio de idosos. 2 quartos, 2 banheiros, 80 metros quadrados, varanda com vista, 3º andar, elevador, segurança 24 horas. 240 mil à vista. Gastei 30 mil em móveis novos. Não quis levar móveis velhos, cheios de memória. Começar do zero. Apartamento ficou bonito. Cores cielaras, lots of natural light, plants on the balcony. For the first time in 40 years, I didn't live at home. I lived in an apartment. Strange, but good. I met neighbors. There were a lot of people my age. Dona Beatriz from the apartment next door, 71 years old, also a widow. She invited me to the building's community group. Meetings on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, they played cards, talked, sometimes went on excursions. I went on a Tuesday. Group of 12 people, all over 60, mostly women, some widows, some with living husbands, but wanting to work on their own. We play hole. We had coffee and cake that one of them brought. They laughed a lot at silly things. I left there feeling less alone. I came back on Thursday, and next Tuesday, it became routine. A year after Javier's death, I went to visit his grave. August 25th, I took flowers, red roses. I cleaned the tombstone, which was now permanent, no longer provisional. Gray granite with his name, dates, and phrase I chose, beloved husband and father, always in our hearts. That last part was a lie, at least to the children, but I had to write something. I sat on the grass next to the grave. It's been a year, love, a year without you. There are days I still can't believe it. I wake up and forget for a second that you're not here anymore. I stayed there for an hour talking to him in a low voice, telling him everything that happened. The lawsuits, the money recovered, the house sold, the new apartment, the community group, the boys. I don't know what to say about them. I think we lost. I think we failed somewhere. Or maybe we didn't. Maybe they just revealed themselves. People show who they are when they want something from you. They showed it. I said goodbye, placed the flowers, left. On the way back, I stopped at a coffee shop. I ordered cappuccino and read the book I had just started. Silly newsstand romance. Distraction. When I got up to leave, I accidentally bumped into someone. Sorry, I said. No problem, man said, smiling. He was about my age, maybe a little older, in his early 70s. White hair, glasses, plaid shirt, jeans. Beautiful in a simple way. Is this book good? He asked, pointing to the book in my hand. It's silly, but it's distracting me, I replied. Sometimes that's what we need. Distraction. We smile. He introduced himself. George Miller. Nice to meet you. Rosa Martinez, she said, shaking his hand. Do you live around here? I live in that building over there. I pointed to my building visible from the coffee shop window. What a coincidence. I live in the building next door. I've never seen you before. I moved 2 months ago. We talked for another 10 minutes. He was also a widower. His wife had died 3 years ago of a stroke. He had 2 children who lived in other states. He was retired, previously working as an accountant. I liked reading, walking, cooking. When we said goodbye, he said, maybe we'll bump into each other again. Maybe, I said. And strangely, I hoped so. If you've been following this story so far, leave a like, because you need to see what happens now. Comment which country you are watching from. And if you've ever felt discarded by those who should love you, know that this twist is for all of us. George and I started bumping into each other often, always in the same cafe, always at the same time, 5 in the afternoon. After 3 weeks of casual conversations, he asked if I wanted to have dinner with him. I accepted. We went to a Mexican restaurant. We talked for 3 hours. He made me laugh several times. It had been so long since I really laughed. I told him about Javier, about the children, about everything that happened. He listened without judging. He said, "You did the right thing. You defended your dignity." He talked about his own children, about how the relationship was distant, but respectful. They call every Sunday. They visit at Christmas and Thanksgiving. It's not warm, but it's honest. I prefer it that way to fakery. We had dinner together again and again. It became a habit, twice a week. Sometimes he cooked in his apartment. He made very good lasagna. Other times I cooked in mine. I made tacos the way Javier liked them. George always praised. It wasn't romance, not yet. It was company. It was not being alone. It was having someone to talk to who didn't judge me, didn't hate me, didn't see me as a burden. It was so simple and so rare. 18 months after Javier's death, Daniel showed up at my apartment. Doorman called to say he had a visitor. I thought about sending it away, but curiosity won. Let it come up. He arrived, knocked on the door. I opened it. He was thinner, older, tired. "Hi, Mom. What do you want?" "I didn't invite you in." We stayed there at the door. "I want to truly apologize, not for a lawyer, not for paper. Me to you. He can talk. I was wrong, completely wrong. Carmen convinced me that you were going to become senile and that it was better to resolve everything first, that it was for your own good. I believed her because I wanted to believe, because it was convenient, because I needed money and I saw opportunity. I was a coward. I was cruel. I was a horrible son. And I lost you. I lost my mother. And it hurts every day." He had tears in his eyes. Real ones, maybe. "So what?" I asked. "You want me to tell you it's okay? It is not. It never will be." "I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I regret it, that I'm ashamed. If you could go back, but you can't. No one can." "I know." Silence. "Anything else?" "Carmen and I are getting divorced. Separation is already underway." I felt nothing about this news. Neither satisfaction nor pity. Nothing. "What a shame for you. I understand if you never want to see me again. But if one day, maybe many years from now, if you want to talk, my phone number is the same. It won't happen, Daniel." He waved, turned, started walking to the elevator. Then he stopped and looked back. "Mom, I loved you. I still love it. I was weak and stupid, but the love was real. I hope you know that. Love doesn't hurt like that," I said. I closed the door. 2 years after Javier's death, Sophia sent me a letter. Long, handwritten, 10 pages. I won't reproduce everything, but the essence was, she was in therapy, working through traumas and guilt. She had realized her role in the betrayal. She couldn't sleep well. Her relationship with her husband was bad. Her daughter asked why she never saw her grandmother. She wanted the chance to rebuild something. She didn't expect to be a daughter again, but perhaps a civilized acquaintance. She sent photographs from the granddaughter that I never really knew. I threw the letter away. Then I took it out of the trash, read it again, threw it away again. Roberto never tried to contact me. 3 years after Javier's death, George officially asked me to be his girlfriend. I lost my Mary. I don't want to pressure. I don't want to rush, but I want you to know that I love you. I love your strength, your honesty, your laugh, how you make tacos, how you complain about the heat, everything. Do you want to be my girlfriend officially? I was 71. He was 74. Advanced old age for teenage dating. But I laughed and said, I want. We dated as if we were 20. Tours, cinemas, restaurants. We traveled. We went to Mexico. I saw the city where I was born and hadn't seen in 40 years. I cried when I saw the street where I lived as a child. It still existed. The house was still there, but occupied by other people. We went to the beach. I had never been to the beach because I always worked too much. I set foot on the sea, and Javier would be happy knowing that I finally did it. We went to New York. I visited the Statue of Liberty, Times Square, museums. George paid half, I half. Financial independence. 4.5 years after Javier's death, my financial assets had grown with well-made investments, plus Javier's pension of $240,000, 1.800, mais minha aposentadoria pequena de 1.200. Total, $7.000 por mês. Vivia com 2.000, guardava 5.000 todo mês que ia para investimentos. Dinheiro crescendo sozinho. Estava confortável, estava segura. Nunca mais ia depender de ninguém. Comecei a fazer trabalho voluntário. Hospital onde Javier morreu tinha programa de apoio a familiares de pacientes terminais. Me voluntariei. Toda terça eu ia lá e conversava com pessoas passando pelo que passei. Segurava a mão de senhora de 80 anos, cujo marido estava morrendo of cancer like Javier. He said, "It's going to hurt a lot, but you're going to survive." I survived. I met other women betrayed by their families. An informal group that was formed by 5 women between the ages of 60 and 78, all with similar stories. Children who were abandoned, stolen, mistreated. We met monthly in a cafeteria. Unofficial collective therapy. We shared pain, victories, strategies. I was the one who had gone the furthest in the legal actions. The others admired me. "You're a warrior, Rosa," Dona Conceição said, 70 years old. And 6 years ago, my son had stolen $50,000 from her and disappeared. I didn't feel like a warrior. I just felt like a survivor. 5 years after Javier's death, on the 25th of August, I returned to the cemetery. Well-kept tomb. Cemetery gardener kept the grass cut. Flowers that I planted were still blooming. I sat like I always did. 5 years, love. Half a decade. I still miss you, but the pain has changed. It's not sharp anymore. It's chronic, but bearable. I met someone, George. You would like him. He is kind to me. Treat me well. It's not you, and no one will ever be you. But he's good, and I'm not alone anymore. I stayed there for half an hour. When I was leaving, I saw Sophia coming out from behind a tree. She had gone too. She kept her distance so as not to disturb me, but she wanted to visit Father. Our eyes met. She was crying. I waved slightly. She waved back. We didn't get closer. But the hatred I felt before was no longer as strong. It wasn't forgiveness. It was tiredness, perhaps, or indifference. 6 years later, I started writing a book about everything that happened, not to necessarily publish, but to process. A therapist I started seeing 2 years before suggested writing as catharsis. I wrote 100 pages in 3 months. There are a lot of women going through this in silence. I showed it to the group of 5 betrayed women. They all agreed. I looked for a small publisher specializing in nonfiction, real stories. I sent a manuscript. They agreed to publish. The book came out a year later with the title, Discarded But Not Destroyed, How I Survived My Own Family's Betrayal. That they had the courage to act. That was worth more than money. 7 years after Javier's death, George asked for my hand in marriage. I know this may sound silly, but I want to spend the rest of my life, however long it may be, officially by your side. Marry me? I thought a lot. I still loved Javier. I always would. But he wasn't here anymore. George was, and he deserved an honest answer. Yes, I said, but simple marriage, notary's office, no party. We got married 3 months later. Ceremony at the registry office, just Laura and her husband as witnesses, George's 2 children who came from other states, and Mrs. Beatrice from the apartment next door. Then we had lunch in a restaurant. Simple, small, perfect. I didn't change my last name. I remained Rosa Martinez. George didn't mind. We didn't live together. He kept his apartment, I kept mine. We had dinner together. We slept together a few nights, but we each had our own space. It worked for us. 8 years later of Javier's death, assets were $1,200,000. I made a will leaving half to George, 25% to Laura, 25% divided between charities, including the hospital where I volunteered, my children,